just stepped out. Jen's joy. Almost, I hope. Almost. Almost. Okay. Hope, go ahead. Yep.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the City of Lincoln's regular meeting of the City Council. Tonight's meeting will be televised and available on cable channel 18 and via Zoom. This evening's invocation will be given by Tom Galovich from Valley View Church. Once the invocation has concluded, Mayor Andreatta will call the meeting to order.
I'll turn it on this time.
Hi.
I'm going to do something a little bit different tonight. Please forgive me. I'm going to pray. Usually I sing.
Usually you sing, yeah.
Bow your heads with me, please. Heavenly Father, today, gratitude is expressed for the special occasions of Flag Day and Father's Day. For Flag Day, thanks is offered for our nation's symbol, a representation of freedom, unity, and cherished values. We give remembrance for those who have served and sacrificed to protect the freedoms represented by the flag. We pray for our leaders, both at home and across this nation, that they may lead the nation wisely. We also pray that the flag continues to be a symbol of hope and justice for all. And for Father's Day, we express gratitude for all fathers and father figures who have guided, loved, and supported us. We offer blessings for them with prayers for wisdom, patience, and tenderness in their roles. We pray for comfort and healing for those who are struggling or hurting. We remember those who have passed away, and prayers are offered for those who miss them, asking for the presence of God. May our nation remain united under God with liberty and justice for all. May fathers continue to reflect love, strength, and faithfulness in their lives and relationships. These things we ask. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Good to see you. All right. Call this meeting to order. Welcome to the City of Lincoln 2025 regular meeting, City Council, Lincoln Redevelopment Successor Agency, Lincoln Public Financing Authority. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Reedy.
Here.
Councilmember Pearl.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Eklund.
Here.
Mayor Andreatta.
Here. Thank you. Anders, your mom said I could just call on you. Would you lead the Pledge of Allegiance for us? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Okay, item 7, report from closed session.
Thank you. There is no reportable action this evening.
Great, thank you. Item 8, agenda modifications. Is there any item that the staff or council would like to move or modify? No? Okay, great. All right, item 9, presentations. We have 3 tonight. So first up, we have Eagle Scout Project presentation by Anders Brown.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Anders Brown, and this is my Eagle project. So, my Eagle project was to build a footbridge at the Lincoln City Airport connecting the pilot's lounge and the airport tarmac. To do this, we first had to build the bridge in my garage and then transport it to the airport. There was a storm drain culvert that we had to dig out to do this. And we had to do all this before we could place the bridge. When we started fundraising, my plan was to get donations from multiple sources like Home Depot and Lowe's, but these didn't really work. We went into the store and called multiple times to both, but kept getting put off or told to keep seeing someone else. So what we ended up doing was just took it to social media and started asking relatives, and this proved to be very worthwhile because we ended up raising almost a lot of money, almost $700 when our budget was around $600. The rest of the money, we decided to just donate to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So, yeah. At first, we knew the bridge was going to be very heavy. We were using pressure-treated wood, and this was even more heavy because all of them, when we bought them at Home Depot, were either wet or damp. The bridge already weighed a considerable amount after constructing the bridge without the arm rails. And we still had to add the 8 pressure-treated posts, which we're definitely going to increase it to almost an amount that we wouldn't be able to move the bridge. To combat this issue, we ended up returning all the extra pressure-treated wood, and we bought redwood and a sealant, and we were just going to use the redwood, which was much lighter and dry, and then just put sealant on it. This made transportation to the airport from making the bridge in a garage to the airport much easier. Installation of the bridge went much smoother than I thought. We used $2 on each side under the bridge in our garage and just rolled it down the driveway onto our trailer. With a full team of scouts moving the bridge at the airport, once we dug out the trench, moving it from the bridge or from the trailer onto the spot that we wanted it was actually a lot easier. That just about concluded the project. I just want to give a special thanks to Scott Boynton, my parents, and all my donors for their support. This whole project wouldn't have been possible without them. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That is amazing. Wow, well, thank you for choosing a project for the airport. I can't wait to go see it. Do any council members have any questions or comments? I'm like, well done, young man. Well done.
I commend you for the work that you did on that. Eagle Scout projects are not an easy thing to do, and so the leadership that you get from that is pretty amazing. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait to go see it
Yeah, me
in
too.
person.
As a former Eagle Scout, I can appreciate what you did. I also love the fiscal responsibility by over collecting and then donating the money. So that was super. But as a person who's been out at the airport quite a bit, that's going to be very, very helpful. So thank you very much. Great job.
Wonderful. Very impressive.
Always.
You
Right.
All right, now it's kind of a letdown, sorry, to move on from that to the Placer Mosquito Vector Control Annual Update Presentation. No offense to you, my dear.
Oh, man,
No
you're
offense to
right.
you, because you do a great job.
It is a total letdown,
Yeah.
but the good news is we don't have West Nile virus circulating
Very
yet.
good, very
I
good.
do come with other bad news, but we'll get to that in a
Yes.
second.
Mm.
Do I need to pull this up? Go. Yep, that's it. Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, it's great to see you all. My name is Megan Lovano. I'm the Public Information Officer at the Placer Mosquito and Vector Control District. I'm here to just give you our annual update of what's going on with mosquitoes and other vectors in our county. But I always like to start with just a refresher of a little bit about our district for those of you who are new to council, and then for the public that's here with us today. So our district's mission is to effectively and efficiently manage the risks from vectors and vector-borne disease in order to protect public health and quality of life in Placer County. We are a special district. We're governed by California mosquito and vector control law. We have 7 members on our board of trustees. They each represent the different cities, the town of Loomis, and then one person represents Placer County at large. Our representative for Lincoln is Peter Gilbert. He's been our representative for a very long time. I don't know how many years, but a very long time. We have
Likes it, so we let him keep doing it, yes.
He is wonderful and he brings a lot of great and interesting ideas to our district. So we really appreciate him. We have 25 full-time staff members, and then in the summer months, we hire seasonal employees to help staff our district when we're busiest. And we also hire interns. Come on, there we go. So we serve all of Placer County, all the way from Roseville up to the Tahoe Basin. We actually have a substation office in Truckee that helps us with the eastern part of the county. Each part of the county kind of deals with the different vectors and vector-borne diseases. On the west side of the county, we're dealing with mosquitoes, primarily West Nile virus. Up kind of towards Auburn, we're still dealing with mosquitoes, but also ticks and Lyme disease. And then in the eastern part of the county, we're dealing with yellow jackets, still unfortunately mosquitoes. And then we also assist the California Department of Public Health with rodent-borne disease surveillance. So if there's issues with hantavirus or plague, we'll go up there and kind of back up their team in the work that they're doing. So we follow an integrated vector management approach, which is really a decision-making umbrella. And within that umbrella, we have a bunch of different programs. So these are some of them: vector and disease surveillance, chemical control, biological and physical control. I would say that's our most popular program, our mosquito fish program. I'll talk about that in a second. We do community and school outreach. We have a technology and innovation program. We're actually leaders in mosquito and vector control with using drones for mosquito control. We actually currently use drones to treat kind of low-lying and hard-to-reach areas with larvicide, and that's new to our district in the last few years. And then we do applied research. So we're always testing our programs to see how we could be more efficient and more effective and make sure we're protecting public health throughout the county. So this is a look at our May 2025 problem reports that were submitted by the public. We have an online reporting system where any resident who lives in Placer County can submit a report for any of these issues: mosquitoes, standing water, swimming pools, dead birds. So some of the highlights of this report looking at last month are those dead bird reports. Those are key to West Nile virus surveillance. So we asked really our county and then statewide, this is a big push to try to get as many dead bird reports as possible, because we test those dead birds for West Nile virus. And that's our first indication that West Nile virus is starting to circulate throughout our community. So usually once we start to find a couple positive dead birds, a week or two later, we're seeing positive mosquito samples, which means West Nile virus is here, it's circulating, and we need to take precautions. The other, numbers that we're seeing for mosquitoes and standing water, that's pretty traditional. We get a ton of mosquito fish requests for standing water in April and in May. And then we start to see people start getting bit by mosquitoes. So those are those mosquito requests. Mosquito fish, like I said, our most popular program that we have at our district, but anyone who has a pond or a water trough might be a great person to receive mosquito fish. Mosquito fish are these tiny little fish. They go in standing water and they'll actually eat mosquito larvae off the tops of that standing water. So it's a great biological resource to keep mosquitoes out of your property. And you could submit a service request for those on our website. So West Nile virus. So we're pretty early into the season, but we're getting close to when we start to see that first positive dead bird or that first positive mosquito sample in our community. For those that don't know, West Nile virus is spread through an infected mosquito after feeding on a bird that's positive with the virus. And then you could see down here in the right-hand side of the presentation, that's a West Nile virus transmission cycle. There is no human vaccine. However, there is a vaccine for horses. So there are a lot of horse properties out here in Lincoln. We recommend that those people actually get their horses vaccinated against the disease. Most cases are mild and we don't hear about it. You might think of it as a summer flu, but about 1 in 150 can be severe or fatal. We do countywide mosquito testing. It really starts a couple months ago and it goes nowadays all the way into October, even early November. With climate change, we're seeing the mosquito season become a little bit longer. And with that, we're adjusting what we're doing to make sure we're testing mosquitoes if they're still presenting with West Nile virus. So really important, people can report dead birds online, westnile.ca.gov. We're really encouraging people to pay attention. If you see a dead bird, report it and let's get it tested and see if it has the virus. So as of today, and this was last updated last Friday when I submitted it, But this is what West Nile virus surveillance is looking like for the state of California, not just Placer County. So as of today, we have not found it in any dead birds, any mosquito samples, there's no human cases. But in the state, there's been 13 positive dead birds and 74 positive mosquito samples. So we're starting to see those numbers rise. And once we get to end of June, early July, we anticipate we'll have a positive here in Placer County, usually starting in Roseville, West Roseville, close to the rice fields. So now the biggest issue that we're dealing with currently without having a West Nile virus positive are invasive Aedes mosquitoes. These are a small, aggressive, daytime biting mosquito, but they have the ability to spread diseases like Zika, dengue, chikungunya, and yellow fever. Now, they thrive in urban areas, so they actually like to be in backyards, front yards, and in cities, so that's where we find them. They can lay eggs in small water sources, and those eggs can survive dry conditions for months, refill with water, and those eggs could hatch off. It is like absolutely horrible. So in Placer County, we have not had locally transmitted dengue. However, in other parts of California, they're now having locally transmitted dengue because of these mosquitoes. So I'm going to explain that a little bit more. So that means that someone who's traveling outside of Placer County, really outside of the state, most likely outside of the country, gets bit by a mosquito or contracts dengue, comes back, they live in Placer County or in an area of the county like Lincoln that has invasive Aedes. They are bit by this mosquito, they're sick, they're bit by an invasive Aedes mosquito, that mosquito flies, bites their neighbor, now they're testing positive for dengue. That's locally transmitted. And that is something we don't want to happen in our county and obviously not here in Lincoln. So we're doing everything we can to try to stop that from happening, but we also need the help of our community to protect themselves against mosquito bites and if they're coming home from traveling and are sick with a disease like dengue. So the specific species of mosquito we have here in Lincoln is Aedes aegypti, and these are common places where we find those mosquitoes. They need, like I said, really minimal amounts of water. And that picture of that like water fountain thing on the right-hand side, that had eggs. So you can see it looks pretty much dry and that had invasive Aedes eggs. This is a look at kind of invasive Aedes by the numbers from last year. These numbers are really high. We did 9 months of surveillance. We had 500 trap sites. We caught 51,000 mosquitoes. And of those 51,000, 49,000, a little over that, were female mosquitoes. Our traps are positioned to try to collect only female mosquitoes because only female mosquitoes bite and have the ability to spread disease. Male mosquitoes don't bite people. And then of those 51,000, 692 were Aedes aegypti. And then this is kind of the scarier number, but we had 19 neighborhoods where we found invasive Aedes. 15 of those 19 were new last year. And then those are some other numbers about our response. This is a map, a little bit hard to see, but this is a map of where we found them so far this year already. So obviously we're in early June. This map is showing you we found them right where we are here in downtown Lincoln, and then also kind of in the north part of Lincoln, and then also Roseville and Rockland. So we are finding them. They're easily spreading. These hot temperatures are going to create an even more inhabitable place for them. Really important. How do we protect ourselves from these mosquitoes like invasive Aedes? You want to dump and drain standing water completely. Even some different districts across the state, especially in Southern California, are recommending scrubbing the eggs off of something like a water pot. Because they have the ability to rehatch when it's filled with water. You want to use an EPA registered repellent. Those are repellents that have ingredients like DEET, picaridin, IR3535, or oil of lemon eucalyptus. All of those ingredients and repellent have been tested by the EPA and are safe to use, but also the best at protecting you from mosquito bites. You want to make sure your screens on doors and windows are in good condition. Mosquitoes love to come inside and they kind of hide up in the corners of your home and in your garage. And then for any questions, concerns, issues with mosquitoes, our district is here to help. You can always contact us through our website or by calling our district. Another important thing for people to do is sign up for our email notifications. We send out a monthly email that kind of gives the state of what's going on with the mosquitoes and other vectors in our community. And then we also send out treatment notifications. We have in the past had a lot of calls from Lincoln residents when we've had to do aerial treatments in this area or ground-based treatments. So it's really important that people sign up so they're notified and they could take whatever precaution they'd like when we're making these treatments. So that's all for me. I'm open to questions.
Thank you. Okay, first of all, I hope you know I was joking because you guys always do a really great job. And this actually is very informative and your presentations are always very thorough and we really appreciate it because these are things we need to know about. And
Absolutely.
you guys do wonderful work. So thank you very
you.
much for that. Any questions or comments? Yes, Matt.
I just actually saw a dead bird right outside of our office, so while you were speaking, I reported it on your website.
Perfect.
And it's less than 24 hours, so it's a finch with yellow wings. So I
Okay.
just reported it.
Finches do carry West Nile virus, and so they'll probably pick that up first thing in the morning. Thank you for doing that.
For a second there, I thought he was going to ask you to pick it up on your way
I
out.
did
Yes.
too. I was like, well, I'm the communications person, so
yeah.
I'll send someone
Yes,
over.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
We
thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Have a great-
Absolutely.
yep,
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, good job. That was great. All right, then our last presentation of the evening is Light of Restoration Foundation presentation. So whoever is going to be speaking, and if it's all of you, you're welcome to come to the podium.
Good evening to all of you.
Nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too, Mayor Holly. Okay, so with these kinds of presentations, I'm definitely gonna use my notes because the emotions and the excitement of this presentation, can make me forget some things. Okay. So good evening, Mayor Holly, council members, and Lincoln community. I am Carmen Urdaneta, the co-founder of the Light of Restoration Foundation. It is such an honor to be here with all of you today. First, I would like to thank God for being the anchor of my life. Thank you for giving me this platform and for allowing me to be your vessel here on earth. Secondly, I want to thank my husband, Jose Urdaneta. Thank you for believing in me and pushing me to the next level. I would also like to thank my family. I am so grateful for all your love and support all these years. And of course, my Light of Restoration team, you make my job a lot easier. You guys are my angels. And lastly, but not least, I want to thank you, Mayor Holly, and the council members, Sean, Nita, for believing in our foundation, believing in the great cause and allowing us to make an impact in the city of Lincoln. We are so grateful for the time and for dedicating this time to us this evening. I would also like to say that to the victims and survivors of domestic violence, you are the reason why we decided to start the Light of Restoration Foundation. We are here to help you through this difficult and traumatic experience you have gone through. Our mission is to rescue you by offering you a safe place to be able to listen to you, counsel you, and empower you, to restore you. When restoration takes place in our lives, it builds the foundation we need to empower us to ultimately take the necessary steps to regain control of our lives, to renew you, because you have all the right to regain the joy, the peace, and the strength so that you can become that beacon of hope in the community and support others who are facing the same challenges as you. We are at your service. We will embark on this journey together. I am confident that you will overcome this difficult experience by getting the help you need, accessing all the resources and services that are available to you. I am also confident that you will become a stronger person and will be able to persevere, become an example of resilience and hope for the many people that are out there that are hurting because they've gone through the same experiences. And by hearing your story, you are impacting their lives and will forever change their destiny. So a little bit about my life. I moved here to California about 2 years ago. I got married and decided to start a new life here. Before moving to California, I resided in Miami, Florida for almost 40 years of my life. Miami will forever be my second home. I have all these beautiful memories that I will always cherish in Miami. So looking back, I remember that back in my 30s, I felt a desire to have a foundation one day. And now in my 40s, I am able to fulfill that dream. I have always felt a big desire to help people, and it's part of my essence. It's part of who I am, and I owe it to God and my parents for instilling this in me. As I was growing up, I always witnessed my parents helping others, and of course, they have the biggest heart, and it's not surprising that I carry the same desire to help people. I am so honored that through our foundation, the Light of Restoration Foundation, I have the privilege to make a difference in people's lives and help the victims and survivors of domestic violence in the community of Lincoln, and I promise to stay committed to you. Thank you. So I have a PowerPoint presentation, and I want to show you guys some things in the presentation. So. Okay, so about a year ago, we, well, it's gonna be a year in August. We moved into this property. It's being leased at the moment. And, you know, some fun facts about this property. It's, of course, owned by Tamara and David Rogers. It's located here in Lincoln, in downtown Lincoln. And prior to leasing the building, it was a studio, the Tamara Lou Studio, which specializes in music, dance, theater, and tutoring classes. And then I want to talk to you guys about the space, you know, the actual space and what it consists of. It has a total of 4 private offices. It also has a large auditorium. It has a kitchen. It also has 2 bathrooms and a kids' play area. So I want to show you guys the pictures of the before and after. We came in, and of course, we had to do a little bit of renovation. It wasn't anything major. We pretty much just painted the building, mainly from the inside, and then we also worked on the front deck and some light fixtures. So it wasn't something like major, but we still did a little bit of renovation. So the property is this one, as you see on the screen. The picture on the left shows how the property looked before or at the moment that we came in. And then the picture on the right is the property as it looks now. And then here's the reception area. The picture on the left, as you can see, is the before picture, and the one on the right as well. And then we're gonna look at the things that we incorporated, which was, of course, the paint job, the new furniture, the Light of Restoration logo. And this is another picture to show you how the main entrance looks like, the reception area. And then here's a waiting room where our clients can come and just wait for their counseling session or, you know, wait for, you know, the classes to begin, or if they're there for a support group, then they can just wait there in that area. And then this is office number 1. This is the main office. And here's office number 2. This is where the clients go in and they fill out the paperwork. The receptionist usually sits here and will assist them. And then we also have office number 3, which is mainly an office that we're using for just to keep, you know, the printer and the filing from our clients. And then we have office number 4, which is the office where our counselor sits down with our clients, and then we have the auditorium was like, we did major work there because, as you can see, it was all black. And so we painted it in white. This is how it looked like before. So we went ahead and bought new chairs, and this is the auditorium that we use for our classes. And then this is the kids' play area. The kids, sometimes these moms, they come in with their kids, and so the kids need a place where they can play, and of course, we have someone there with them to take care of them and everything. And then this room is where the support group of women, the women that need a support group come in, and so they'll sit around, that space. And this is a very special room for us because I've been, of course, part of this support group with the women, and it's such a beautiful, you might see this room and you might see it like just any ordinary room, but this is the moment that we get to listen to their stories, the women's stories of, their traumatic experience or difficult experience that they've been through. And so this is a moment where they feel safe, where they're feeling like we're listening to them, and also giving them feedback on what are the things that they can, the strategies, giving them strategies of the things that we can give them so that they can move on with their lives. And then I wanted just to show you a picture of the flyer that we decided to make. And as you can see, the flyer, it promotes our values, which is to rescue, restore, and renew these families. There's a section on a little bit about us, and then there's a section on our services. As you know, we provide counseling classes and support groups. And I went ahead and also included the food bank because we have Panera Bread, which is also working together with us to provide food for these families. And of course, the location, our number, the website location, and our email address. So I, of course, want to take this time to thank, once again, you, Mayor Holly, and the council members, and Sean and Nita, and also to our donors who have donated their time and money to this foundation. We are so grateful for you, and we it takes a village to have a foundation, and we just thank you so much for your support. And we wanted to, so I decided to include also the foundation team, and we have, starting from the left, to the right, all the way to the left, we have, of course, my husband, who's the president of the foundation, Jose Urdaneta, myself, and then we have the licensed marriage and family therapist, Josefina. Next to her is Miriam, who's our administrative assistant. Then after her is our counselor, Maria Benavides, and Beatrice, who's our licensed social worker. And of course, we have our technical team lead, who's Juan Ruelas. And then here's our contact information. As you know, we're located on 578 East Street here in Lincoln. This is our office number, our email and website. And then I had something else to share with you as far as the outcome of, how many families we've actually impacted and everything. I'm sorry that it's not on the actual slide or presentation, I should say. Um, Okay, so the community impact. The way that we have impacted the community is by helping these families, specifically married couples. We have had a number of 22 married couples that have come to us and that we have helped. We have, we've also had individual women that have come to us, not with their husbands, just, you know, individually seeking help. And we are currently working with 4 of them at this moment. And as far as men, it's the same number, 4 men. And then, so when we're helping these families, we're also, you know, when we're helping these couples and these men and women, we're also helping the kids. The children are impacted as well. And I just wanted to let you know that we have a total of about 38 kids that are being assisted as well. And then I wanted to talk to you guys about our current goals or future goals for the foundation. Of course, we want to continue to do outreach. We want to we want to implement, I should say, fundraising events to promote awareness and financial assistance through donations for the foundation. And then our second goal would be to connect with other nonprofits, maybe by going to their conferences or fundraising events, so that we can form those community bonds with the leaders that are part of those nonprofits, and we can make an impact with them as well. And then third, a connection with other businesses. We are waiting for a response from Safeway. I think that they're gonna respond to us at any moment, because this happened like about 8 weeks ago that we actually went ahead and sent out an application for them to help us with, you know, food donations. And so we're very confident that they're gonna, you know, be partnering with us. We're also gonna, you know, contact Rayleigh's, Whole Foods, Nuggets. We went ahead and contacted, and they were kind enough to give us a gift card for $50. So we are very grateful for them. And then we also want to partner with retail stores like Target and Walmart, so that these victims can have not only the food aspect, but also the essential items such as clothing and etc. And then lastly, the goal that we have as a foundation is shelter for these domestic violence victims. At this moment, we do not have a shelter for them. So we want to connect with providers in the future, in the near future, so that we can just connect with those sheltered places and be able to help these victims as far as them feeling safe and just protected in the shelter. Because, you know, oftentimes, or all the times, they're not feeling safe in where they're living, you know, because of the situation that they are encountering. So that is all that I needed to let you guys know. But of course, I have my team here who's going to speak to you guys about if it's possible to share like a testimony or two of
We probably have
from-
time for one,
Oh, okay.
if you can do it real quick, yeah?
Okay, perfect. And then do we have time also to share like the experience that Beatrice has had with
Well,
the?
yeah, I was going to give Beatrice a chance
Okay.
to speak real quick
Okay.
if she wanted to, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Pastor Carmen. Good job. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to share that it's been a really great experience being able to work with each and every family, with each and every woman. I feel like being able to provide that psychoeducation on the cycle of domestic violence, being able to actually connect also women to low-income housing or being able to even just help them through that application process. It's been really good to see. And then also kind of get feedback as to what other services are out there, and be able to connect with them as well. I feel like it's just been so much that we have been able to do with each and every family and each and every child. And just being able to connect with them early on, especially for the children, and providing just the therapy aspect for them has just been great. And I just, again, like, we want to thank you for believing in us and trusting in us to be able to start this foundation here in Lincoln. I feel like it's great, and I think it's just going to continue to grow because the need is there, just to serve our community of Lincoln and just strengthen our community.
Thank you. I really appreciate
Yeah.
that. I did have a quick question.
Yes.
As Pastor Carmen was speaking, and she talked about the 22 married couples, and then right now you're working with 4 women, but I know you guys have been doing this for almost a year. How many women total have you guys had come in that you've helped either in your group, council, or individually? So I know you said 4 now, but how many total over the last year, do you know?
Let me.
Just off the top of your head?
So I run the groups, which were on Mondays, and we start off with 8.
Okay,
And then we have our marriage and family therapist who started seeing them individually.
Okay.
So we split them because some wanted to do individual, and then the other 4 wanted to do more of a group setting. So that was a total of 8. But then I know that Pastor Carmen and Jose were also doing individual with a lot of, I know there was a family, especially a woman who was more, her experience was a little bit more traumatic in the sense where home visits needed to happen because she couldn't leave her home. So I know they were doing more of that kind of outreach and going to them.
Yeah.
So for me, it was 8 and then 4 for our support group.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions from the council?
I just had some comments. Thank you for what you're doing, and I know that the need is there, and I'm sure our community, as well as we appreciate all that you do and are, as you grow and will continue to do. I was wondering if you had connected to the school districts already, and if that was maybe an avenue that you could connect with to have, if there's a need there to have.
Yeah, I
people-
think that is definitely one of the goals, to connect with the schools and maybe the police department. Now that we have our flyers, I don't know if it's possible to just give a few out to pass for them to pass them out. We could definitely, we would be more than happy to provide that, to be able to build that, because so I am at that foundation, but then I am also a school-based therapist. So I do that as well. So I know that the need is there, and it'd be really great for the schools here in Lincoln to have that service.
Awesome. Yeah, for outreach, I was thinking that was a low-hanging fruit, and I'm sure
Yeah.
that there could be appreciation and need there.
Yeah,
And then,
definitely.
and then talking about the need for shelter, I remember learning about Acres of Hope, and I didn't know if you had connected with them already, and if that was maybe a potential partner that you could connect with.
Yeah, I have not connected with them, but that is something that we want to do. I have connected with, I know that there was like a Section 8 housing happening in the Whitney newer development.
in Rockland.
So I know I helped a few women fill out applications for that.
Excellent. Thank you.
I also wanted to ask, I know that the Rogers have put the building up for sale, and it was your desire to buy it. If you don't mind me asking, are you guys making progress on that, or is there is a way, Carmen's?
Yeah, I think she would know more.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Beatrice, appreciate that.
So, Mayor Holly, we actually have a meeting with David and Tammy this week
Okay,
on Thursday. So We're going to talk about funding options with them.
Great.
Yeah, because, our desire is to
Oh,
stay in the same building.
would really like for you to stay in that building. I mean, like, you guys
Yes,
have done a really
yes.
great job with it.
Thank you.
Just the paint and the renovations, and it's beautiful, and I think it's working well for you. So
Yes.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed that you guys can work that out. Yeah,
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
thank you.
Yeah, we're hoping for the best. We'll keep you guys updated.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here, and it's really great to see all of you
Yes,
and
thank
appreciate the
you.
presentation.
Oh, you're very welcome. No testimonies, right? Or
Can you
what?
do one really quick? Really
Okay.
quick?
Yes.
Okay, really
So
quick.
sorry.
That's okay, really, we just have a lot more to get to, but I know
Okay.
you brought people, so just real quick, okay?
Okay, thank
Thanks.
you.
Yeah, you bet.
I'm gonna kind of help with the translation.
Okay, thanks.
Good
Mi
evening.
nombre es Dulce.
My name is Dulce.
Yo soy parte de una de
I-
las mujeres
I am one of the women
que
that
llegó
arrived at Light of Restoration
para recibir ayuda para violencia doméstica.
to receive help for domestic violence.
Cuando yo llegué ahí,
When I arrived there,
yo me pregunté que yo no he sido golpeada. Golpeada,
I was not physically hurt,
pero cuando yo llegué y recibí las clases,
but when I got there and received the classes,
me di cuenta que a veces no se necesita
I
recibir golpes.
realized that sometimes you don't need to physically be
A
hurt,
veces son golpes mentalmente.
but sometimes it's mental.
Y cuando yo llegué, recibí la ayuda
And when I got there, I received the help
que yo necesitaba
that I needed
mentalmente.
mentally.
Tengo 6 años
I have 16 years
en el Evangelio,
knowing God,
pero yo necesitaba
but I needed
ayuda
help,
psicológica
psychological help,
para entender
in order to be able to understand
las diferencias
the
de lo
differences
que Dios quiere
of what God
y
wants
en lo natural la medicina quiere
and what medicine,
para que una mujer
in order for a woman
pueda ejercer
to be able to move forward
el trabajo
in work,
que tenemos como madres de familia.
the job that we have as mothers, in order to be able to learn that piece.
Para mí fue una bendición llegar
For me, it was a blessing to be able to arrive
y
at Light
haber
of
sido
Restoration
educada,
and to be able to receive that knowledge.
y le agradezco mucho a José y Carmen Urdaneta
And I really want to thank the founders of the foundation,
por
Jose and
poner esa
Carmen, to be
pasión
able
y
to
amor
put the passion there and the love
por ayudar a la
to be able to
comunidad.
help the community.
Gracias.
And just thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. We really appreciate it. Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say that, thank you for, for having us over here. It's just a privilege. And mentor Jose and Carmen, they are helping us, with the, mentalmente. Yeah, with mental health. So, yeah. So I just want to bring that up. And then, for one of the questions that you were saying about, contacting with the schools. I hear Rick, that's his goal. He actually want to share that with you guys.
Okay.
So yeah, we were talking about it, I think like 2 weeks ago or something like that. So yeah, we have that on, on our goal.
Okay.
To connect with the schools.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
sharing. Really appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Thank you for that very much. I really appreciate it. Very heartwarming, and you guys are doing good work, and we really appreciate it. And we're going to just, we support you, and we thank you for doing that. And keep us posted, okay? Keep us posted on what's going on. All right. Thank you, council, for indulging that. Okay. Item number 10, public comment on non-agenda items within the subject matter, the jurisdiction of the council. You have 3 minutes to comment on anything that's not on the agenda, and I do have one card, and that is for Jason Daggett.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, City staff. So tonight I'd like to request that the council review and change the rules for public comments in these meetings. So if I'm given 3 minutes to speak on a topic, like, I don't know, city park project, for example, and I only use half of that time, and then the council or city staff respond, I should be allowed to use the rest of the time to ask follow-up questions or deliberate on the topic further. And I know we aren't trying to be like other cities, although Roseville is mentioned in this a lot, but I digress. It is common practice for other cities to allow healthy conversation in city council meetings. I would actually argue that healthy conversation is essential to a properly functioning democracy. I did, and admittedly, very brief Google search on what, if any, laws are in place regarding public comment in government meetings before speaking today. I'm obviously an expert on it now. And I came across the Brown Act, which I read again very briefly. But what stood out to me from what I was reading was there was some words that were used quite a bit. So the first one was reasonable. And while I think we could debate on if 3 minutes is reasonable or not, I don't think there could be a debate on it would be more reasonable if we got that entire 3 minutes to have a conversation. Another common word was deliberation, which means long and careful consideration or discussion. I don't see the current process in place now as promoting deliberation. I would argue the opposite. The public speaks, the council or staff gives their response, and then that's it. Conversation's over. This seems to go against the idea of collaboration and transparency, which were also two very common words that were in that document from my 3 minutes of reading. So I would strongly encourage the council and staff to review their policy on public comments to one that is more reasonable, collaborative, transparent, and promotes more healthy, necessary deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. You still have 1:12. You want to keep talking? Okay, so let me just respond really quickly. That's definitely something that we can take under consideration. I think that most jurisdictions do 3 minutes, and most of the time, we do take the time to answer your questions, or say if we can't answer, we'll get back to you. There's no desire here to not have a conversation, although we're limited with, because it's not on the agenda, we can't have a full-blown discussion about it and back and forth. By law, we're not allowed to do that because it's not on the agenda. If a public comment arises to the level of, okay, let's put it on the agenda, we can do that. And if there's something that you really feel strongly about, we can put it on the agenda for next time and we can have a conversation. So there's no desire to not let you speak, or the reason it's limited to 3 minutes is because if everybody had 5 or 10 minutes, we'd be here till midnight, and nobody can do that. So we are very transparent. We do want to answer your questions. And the other thing is, because I know you and Darla have both said this, and I'm not sure where it's coming from, and I'm not doubting you, but I'm not sure where it's coming from. We don't want to be like Roseville. Sometimes we use comparisons of like, this is what other jurisdictions do, but we don't want to be like Roseville. We like our Roseville friends, but we don't want to be Roseville. We don't want to be Rockland. We're Lincoln, and Lincoln is special. So I appreciate your comment, and we will take it under advisement. But those are the reasons why we can't do full-blown discussions. But if something comes to the level of, hey, let's put it on the agenda, we're happy to do that for you. Yeah. So, but we'll talk about it. Well, hey, we'll put it on the agenda for next time. Okay. Yes. All right. Any other public comments? Yes, Darla, go ahead.
So for the 3 new council people, I'm Darla Gutierrez. I live in the old Lincoln. The reason I'm up here is because last meeting, the subject of the chambers wasn't good enough in my interpretation. Again, we don't want to be like Roseville. We don't want to be like Loomis. We don't want to be like Rockland, yet this isn't good enough for some reason. The only thing that I see may be wrong is the leg on this table. Because right after the water bill went up, we got new chairs. So I don't understand what's wrong with what's going on here. I don't know what they were referring to, if there's a leak, which I don't see, or what. The other thing is the thing about the people selling fruit and flowers. We don't have enough police as it is to give out tickets, let alone to go to each stand and say, do you have a permit? Now, you talked about taking their stuff. I don't want to see a TikTok from Lincoln like we do see it from LA and other areas, because that's what, Lincoln is not that. If anything, if the police is gonna go to the area where they're selling flowers or fruit or whatever they're selling, they ask for the permit, they don't have one, they tell them to leave. They take a picture of the individual and they tell them, don't come back until you get your permit. The same thing with the food trucks. They're all from out of town, yes, everyone knows that. And everyone still goes to the food trucks. We go to the restaurants, we go to the food trucks, we're supporting everything. So if they don't have their permit or it's too many, then I don't know if you guys have a law that says there's only supposed to be so many or what, but I don't see where you're gonna stop from selling fruit or flowers or whatever, because you may have a theory on why they're doing it. It could be true, it could not be. I've spoken to them and I don't get that impression, but again, they may be lying. The other thing is there was a speeding thing on First Street on the roller coaster area. And I wanted to know with the police department if you got a report with you, or if you could speak about it, or maybe in the next meeting.
Thank you, Darla. Appreciate that. Anybody else have a public comment? Yes, Stella.
Hi, Madam Mayor. There was a time that I asked to meet with you, and I wanted to follow up on that. The reason I did request a meeting with you was specifically because in one of the city council meetings, you mentioned that one of the honored teachers was a teacher of yours, and a PE teacher of some sort. And so I had an understanding greater of your roots within Lincoln, and I really appreciated that. Since I moved to Lincoln about 2 years ago, I've had the opportunity to enjoy the downtown area, dropping my kids off to school, taking them to friends' houses, walking them to school. And in the first few months of living here, there is a Red Cross that is at the Burger King. It's on the corner. And when I first went by, it was just a year after the memorial of that young man. Since then, I also saw that there is a memorial at the Lincoln High School at the flagpole, and that there are a lot of stories. When I did live over by Dubin Park, the first few months I was there, they had balloons going up, and there was a young girl that had overdosed also. And so I have I did research on what that Red Cross is there for at Burger King, and found out that the gentleman, his parents live in 12 Bridges, but he had overdosed inside the Burger King bathroom. One of the things that I found out is I found out who his friends and family were, who his friends were. They lived on that street. And I identified with them that I can understand that love for that person. But I don't want to be walking my child to school and see alcohol bottles memorializing this young man. After working and talking with that best friend, I found out that he had been always trying to get out of his addiction. And so I said, why would we want to memorialize him with alcohol bottles if that's not something that he wanted? And so they have now used flowers, but that Red Cross is still there, which is a reminder of what our youth have been dealing with. I'll also add in regards to how important our youth are, but I came across this scripture, and I wanted to talk with you about your love for Lincoln. There's one time I shared my testimony, and a few months later you mentioned of a neighbor of yours, or not a neighbor, but a friend of yours and his wife that had something happen to them. And so I do fully understand your love for Lincoln and your representation for us, and I do really appreciate that. But this scripture that I had come across is even more important now than I have ever thought. It's in Proverbs, and it is 11:9, and it says, with their mouths, the godless destroy their neighbors, but through knowledge, the righteous escape. And when I had an opportunity to ride my bicycle around Lincoln downtown and really take a look at the boundaries of the downtown master plan and try to understand the planning that's being done there, I saw a lot of churches, which means that Lincoln was based and built off of faith. And so I leave that with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stella. Appreciate that. Anybody else? Public comment? Anybody online?
No comments through Zoom.
Okay, all right. We will close.
I'm sorry, Mayor.
Oh.
I spoke too soon. Fran Neves.
Oh, hi, Fran. Go ahead.
Give me 1 second.
Well, hi, everybody. I haven't been on Zoom for a few meetings, but I just wanted to say that I was really excited when I did see the cardboard box at the library turned. And I know it's on the agenda, but it's on consent and you might pull it off. So I just wanted to thank everybody for that. And I noticed it even came under budget. So anyway, that's a great thing. And I've enjoyed listening to all the presentations tonight. That's it, unless you've gone down Oak Tree Lane lately. And then we realized with 400 homes going back there, I guess we're going to have traffic back and forth there for the next 20 or 30 years. But it's moving along. So thank you, everybody, for all you do.
Thank you, Fran. Anybody else? Okay, we'll close public comment and go on to the consent agenda. Consent usually consists of routine items unless the council would like to pull something for discussion. No? Any questions about any item? Do you have the consent number, Sela? And if you have a quick question, we're not going to pull it, but you can ask a quick question. 11B. Okay, what's your quick question about this?
I had made a public comment last time about this topic. It's not necessarily about pulling it, but I didn't say, one of the things that is really good about our neighborhood is being able to help other people. And so there are some helping neighbors or helping hands or Lincoln Serves. And so I'm sure if there's people that have large properties, they might be able to get some support from around the area to get help to meet those
The defensible
requirements.
spaces?
Right.
Okay.
So neighbors, helping neighbors to cut down these 20 acres or so that they have. I know one of the school board members mentioned that she was out there doing a great deal of that, so.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, I'll accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Thank you. Councilmember Reedy.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Pearl.
Yes.
Councilmember Eklund.
Yes.
Mayor Andriotta.
Yes. All right, thank you for that. Moving on to item 12, public hearings. 12A, conduct a public hearing and adopt 2 resolutions for the Benefit Assessment District Number 1 Annual Update. Adopt a resolution approving the final engineer's report, ordering improvements and confirming the diagram and assessments for Benefit Assessment District Number 1 for fiscal year 2025-26. And adopt resolution ordering the levy and collection of assessments within Benefit Assessment District Number 1 for fiscal year 25-26. Is you, Matt?
Yes, good evening. I have a brief script to read before we open the public hearing.
Okay.
The city's Benefit Assessment District Number 1 was formed in 2005 to fund operations and maintenance of city flood and storm drain improvements, benefiting properties within the Lincoln Crossing, Aiken Ranch, Cressley Grove, and Lincoln Highlands developments. The city places assessments for the district annually on the county property tax bills. An annual engineer's report is prepared and approved by the city council to set assessment rates each fiscal year. For fiscal year 25-26, the assessment rates proposed for the district are at the maximum rate set when the district was originally formed, or additional territory was annexed in. The fiscal year 25-26 collection of assessments is estimated to be $93,105. City council took the first steps in the fiscal year 2025-26 annual approval process on May 13th with the adoption of 2 resolutions initiating proceedings, ordering and approving the preliminary engineer's report, and setting the public hearing date for June 10th, 2025. This evening, city staff is recommending city council take the next steps in the annual approval process by conducting a public hearing, accepting public testimony, and adopting 2 resolutions. 1, A resolution approving the final engineer's report, ordering improvements and confirming the diagram and assessments for fiscal year 25-26. And 2, a resolution ordering the levy and collection of assessments within the district for fiscal year 25-26. Following the public hearing and adoption of the 2 resolutions this evening, the district assessments will be submitted to the county prior to their June 30th deadline. That concludes my presentation this evening. Myself and the city's consultant, Jordan Brown from Francisco and Associates, is available for any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the council before I open public comment or public hearing? No? Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Is there any testimony on this item? Anybody online? No? Okay. Close the public hearing. If there are no other questions or comments from council, accept the motion.
So move.
Thank you.
I second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Pearl,
Yes.
Councilmember Eklund,
Yes.
Councilmember Reedy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Mayor Andriata.
Yes. Item 12B, conduct a public hearing and adopt 2 resolutions for the landscaping and lighting district number 1. Adopt a resolution approving the final engineer's report, ordering improvements and confirming the diagram and assessments for landscaping and lighting district number 1 for fiscal year 25-26. And adopt a resolution ordering the levy and collection of assessments with landscaping and lighting district number 1 for fiscal 25-26.
Good evening once again. I have a little bit longer of a script this time,
Okay.
so I might need to take a few deep breaths for this one. The city, the city's landscaping and lighting district number 1, otherwise known as the LAD, was formed in 1982 to fund the maintenance of city landscaping, parks, open space, trails, and street lighting. The LAD is comprised of the original benefit zone and 32 additional benefit zones, which in total encompasses approximately 40% of the city's parcels. The city places assessments annually on the county property tax bills to provide funding for operations and maintenance of the improvements benefiting parcels in the LAD. The Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972 requires that an annual engineer's report be prepared and approved by City Council to set assessment rates each fiscal year. For fiscal year 25-26, the assessment rates proposed for all benefit zones do not exceed the maximum rates set when the LAD was originally formed or additional territory was annexed in. The fiscal year 2025-26 collection of assessments is estimated to be $3,848,250. City Council took the first steps in the fiscal year 25-26 annual approval process on May 13th with the adoption of 2 resolutions initiating proceedings, ordering and approving the preliminary engineer's report, and setting the public hearing date for June 10th, 2025. This evening, city staff is recommending City Council take the next steps required in the annual approval process by conducting a public hearing, accepting public testimony, and adopting 2 resolutions. 1, a resolution approving the final engineer's report, ordering improvements and confirming the diagram and assessments for fiscal year 25-26, and 2, a resolution ordering the levy and collection of assessments within the LAD for fiscal year 25-26. Following the public hearing and adoption of the 2 resolutions this evening, the LAD assessments will be submitted to the county prior to the June 30th deadline. Also, an analysis to develop strategies to address the funding issues for the LAD that have been previously presented to council Also, an analysis to develop strategies to address the funding issues for the LAD that have been previously presented to the City Council will be conducted. City staff will come back to City Council at a later date with findings and analysis and recommendations for consideration. And that's in reference to a $200,000 LAD assessment that we have programmed in the proposed budget. And I can elaborate if you'd like. That concludes my presentation this evening. Myself and the city's consultant from Francisco and Associates, Jordan Brown, are available for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Would you please elaborate on that project that you mentioned?
Sure thing. Actually, I have a script for this one too, but Sean might want to speak to this. Okay. So The issue is the general fund currently subsidizes the landscape and lighting district by over $1 million annually, and it grows every year with inflation and escalation because a lot of the zones don't have an escalator built in. This subsidy is unsustainable, necessitating a long-term equitable solution. The proposed actions, new citywide landscaping and lighting district study, as I mentioned, and that would initiate a study to develop a new citywide landscaping and lighting district via the Proposition 218 process. The goal would be to create an equitable benefit zones to fairly distribute costs among property owners. Please note that areas within the existing CFD will be excluded as they already pay equitable rates. So this would be all the properties not annexed into the new CFD. So Francisco and Associates, who I've spoke with earlier, and they provide us a scope and estimated fee. They're currently working on this with many other jurisdictions, including Danville, Clayton, Concord, Dublin, and other areas. And Ed couldn't be with us tonight because he's actually presenting at Danville. So they do have some experience in this, and it's actually pretty regular. Most cities and municipalities across the state have problems with landscaping and lighting districts. So there is some light at the end of the tunnel. We do plan comprehensive outreach plan to engage residents, excluding the CFD areas, gather input, initial polling potentially and with Sean's, approval and guidance to assess community priorities and comfort levels, social media campaigns to inform and educate, virtual and in-person town hall meetings, just like we did with the utility rates. And then obviously staff would have a commitment to transparency and inclusivity through the process. We do have this budgeted for the 2025-27 budget cycle. Of course, we would take as much time as needed. And the outcome would be a new citywide landscape and lighting district with equitable benefit zones, excluding CFD areas, reduced or eliminated reliance on general fund subsidies, and a sustainable community-supported solution aligned with resident needs.
Okay, thank you. Any questions before I open the public hearing?
A couple of comments. One, I'm hoping that the light at the end of the tunnel isn't an ongoing train, of course. But this is one of those legacy problems that we've had. I think we've probably known about this for easily 15, 20 years. The problem itself goes way back into the 1980s, probably even before that. It's going to take a heavy lift of the community to bring this about. But the reality is that the subsidy, which is now 1.3 million and growing every year, is just taking money out of the general fund that we could put to a lot of other different uses. And at the end of the day, the reality is some people are benefiting, more than benefiting, and others being subsidized. And so we have to come up with a solution that's fair to everyone. But this is not, I recognize that this is not going to be an easy problem to solve, because this has been a situation that has been going on for years and years. It should have been addressed before. This council, this administration certainly would not have allowed this to become a problem at the beginning. And I'm pretty confident that this council and administration would have moved to fix the problem years ago. But we are where we are at this point. And we're just going to have to recognize that this is a serious problem that's going to have to be addressed. It's going to have to be community-based. And we're going to have to realize that, this is a community benefit to have, good landscaping, good medians, good lighting for safety. But it's not going to be an easy, frankly, it's not, we all know it's not going to be an easy sell. But we're just going to have to make the case to the people and take it and just say, here, there are options. This is one of those things that there's just no free lunch. And so we're just going to have to bite the bullet, be very honest and transparent with our residents and saying, here's what, here are the options. There are probably no good options, but what is the best of the worst options, and just move forward from that.
I share much of Councilmember Pearl's feedback and comments on the situation and getting into it and us getting us out in the best way possible. One just note I wanted for public record, when you look at the maximum rate and the set rate, most of them, the set rate is the maximum rate. There are a handful that are not. One, for example, the maximum rate is 733 and the actual rate is 6334. I suspect this is because these areas haven't developed, but for public record, could someone explain when they are not at the max?
Yeah, so your assumption is correct. If it's likely undeveloped area that hasn't actually experienced any cost beyond something really minimal, maybe lights are up, but no median landscaping services are needed yet. So it's supposed to be proportionate of whatever the cost is to do the service.
Great, thanks. Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Is there any testimony on this item? In the room, anybody online? Nope, okay. Close the public hearing and bring it back for further comments or questions. And if not, I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call?
Okay, Councilmember Pearl.
Yes.
Councilmember Raby.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Eklund.
Yes.
Mayor Andriata.
Yes. Hey, item 12C, conduct a public hearing and adopt resolution approving a tentative parcel map for 12 Bridges Retail Center, subdividing 2 lots totaling 29.7 acres in size into 14 commercial lots ranging in size from 0.99 acres to 5.18 acres. And Efren, hi.
Hi, just give me a second. Let me find my
worries.
PowerPoint presentation. Apologies for the delay.
No problem. Oh, it's on the back. We can't see it. Yes, Nat, that's what it is. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Efren Sanchez, Senior Planner with Community Development Department. The project we have before you is the 12 Bridges Retail Center tentative parcel map request to subdivide 2 lots totaling 29 acres into 14 commercial lots submitted by Pappas Investment. Located at the northwest corner of 12 Bridges Drive and Colony Drive within the 12 Bridges Specific Plan and General Development Plan area, the project site has a general plan land use designation of Employment Center, EC, with matching zoning of EC1. Nearby land uses include the Kaiser Permanente Medical Facility and John Adams Academy to the north, Terracotta Village to the east, 12 Bridges High School to the south, and 49 acres of open space conservation land adjacent to State Route 65 to the west. Background. In 1994, the City Council approved the 12 Bridges Specific Plan, General Development Plan, and certified the Environmental Impact Report, which anticipated the future development of this 29-acre project site. In April 2024, the applicant for the 12 Bridges Retail Center the application for the 12 Bridges Retail Center was submitted to planning. Staff reviewed the initial submittal of the project and went through 4 iterations of the project. Through the planning process, staff recommended the applicant submit a supplemental traffic analysis. In September 2024, Farron Pierce kickstarted the traffic analysis for the project. Planning staff, development engineering, and the applicant team agreed to have DKS peer review the traffic analysis. After 9 months of coordination, we were able to arrive to a traffic operation report that provides meaningful relief, keeps traffic conditions comparable to existing levels, without triggering the need for major infrastructure expansion. On May 21st, 2025, the Planning Commission conducted a public hearing to consider all project entitlement requests, which included a specific development plan, development permit master plan, conditional use permit, findings of consistency with the general plan for vacating of landscape easement, and the tentative parcel map application we have before you today. The only outstanding entitlement request that needs City Council approval is the tentative parcel map. The 12 Bridges Retail Center, contemplates 14 buildings with various sizes. The idea is that each building will have its own parcel. The project's master plan sets up the framework to expedite future development of the project by adopting the site planning, infrastructure, architectural design, landscaping, signage, and lighting at the master plan level. Future building permits will be evaluated by staff to make sure that the architecture and overall site improvements are consistent with the master plan and thus consistent with the 12 Bridges specific plan and general development plan. EC1 District, Employment Center 1, accommodates a flexible variety of employment generating land uses such as professional offices, research and development, retail businesses, and shopping centers. This slide displays the existing 2 parcels. In June 2024, a lot line adjustment was recorded, which reconfigured the property into what you see on the screen. This lot line adjustment helped create the recently constructed BP Arco project on Lot 27C, as you can see in the bottom right corner. The tentative parcel map request to subdivide the property into 14 commercial buildings will complement the proposed number of buildings within the 12 Bridges Retail Center. Ranging in size from approximately 1 to 5 acres, as proposed, the tentative parcel map complies with the Lincoln Municipal Code Section 17.20 parcel maps and the 12 Bridges General Development Plan. The proposed parcels anticipate using existing improvements with access off of 12 Bridges Drive, Colonnade Drive, and Gilwin Drive. In May 21st, 2025, the Planning Commission held a public hearing for the 12 Bridges Retail Center. One public comment raised concerns about the 81-foot pylon sign, future traffic, and landscaping. All comments were addressed during the hearing. The commission supported the project with some differing views on the sign. After extensive deliberation, all entitlements were approved, with recommendation for the City Council to approve the tentative parcel map. Here is the existing and proposed access points. Driveway B through E are existing, while driveway A is the new proposed access point that will allow the right-in, right-out movement as illustrated on the site plan. So each driveway is labeled. That's not working, okay. That's fine. Driveway B is an existing access point that allows the right-in, right-out movement. A key purpose of the traffic study prepared by Fair and Pierce involved how to best design and operate this driveway. Implementing the partial traffic signal will accommodate 12 Bridges Drive eastbound left turn into the project. An example of this proposed partial signalized intersection can be observed at the Safeway Shopping Center in Rockland off of Park Drive and Sunset Boulevard. The circulation has been designed to accommodate the required turning radius for fire trucks, delivery trucks, and customer vehicles. The traffic operation report was prepared by Fair and Pierce and peer-reviewed by city staff and DKS, our consultant. Traffic operation report was completed for the 12 Bridges Retail Center, focusing on the 3 to 4 p.m. peak hour, which overlaps with school dismissal traffic from nearby schools. The project is estimated to generate about 1,500 trips during this hour, with roughly 40% being pass-by trips. To manage this added traffic, the study recommends that a partial signal at driveway B and both signal and lane adjustment at the Colonnade and 12 Bridges Drive intersection. These improvements would increase capacity by 12%, reduce queues, and improve circulation without road widening. While traffic levels may remain below the city's ideal service level, these changes effectively mitigate project impacts using practical and targeted solutions. At this point, I will turn it over to my colleague, SP Mann, Senior Engineer with Development Engineering, who can provide more context regarding the project's traffic operation report.
Thanks, Efren. Good evening, Mayor and council members, SP. I just wanted to come in and just brief on the traffic impacts for this area and the proposed mitigation, and I'm trying to go through high level. So if you look at the slide here, so to go back to the slide. A little technically challenging, okay. So the location of the project is such, we've got John Adams Academy up north, and we have a high school just south of the project. It's a busy intersection already, Toll Bridges Drive and Colonnade Drive. So we've been working with the academy for the last 2 years, and in last year, I believe they made some on-site circulation changes that really made a big difference on reducing the on-site, queuing on the public streets. So far, we've not heard a lot of issues because of the academy. I know we still have cars parking on Colonnade and Galewind, but it's not been an issue that it was a few years ago. So that has helped a lot. So when we got the application in, obviously the applicant engaged Fair and Peers. It's a known reputable traffic engineer. So we also insisted on getting our peer reviewer, DKS Engineering, David Tokarski, again, another reputed engineer that has worked with traffic models for us, for the city, in the last 20 years or so, helped us with the general plan amendments. So I wanted to just give you an impact so because of the location, we had these challenges. The second challenge is that the academy and the school, their peaks vary because the school schedules, the student release schedules are a little different. So they're a little offset. They don't let off the students at the same time. So academy has a different peak than the school. So that was one of the few challenges that we had while modeling this operational analysis. So apparently, it took us good 8 to 9 months to come up with a satisfactory operational analysis that we actually finally approved some mitigation based off of. So we did hear concerns about congestion along the Toll Bridges Colonnade Drive intersection during the master plan approval at the Planning Commission hearing on May 22nd. But it must be understood that the proposed project will bring more traffic to the area. It's a big project, and there will be impacts to the level of service. Now, the level of service is defined by the delay per intersection in seconds. So if you look at the delay intersection and all the 4 intersections at Colonnade, Toll Bridges, Galewind, and Colonnade, the maximum delay that we're creating with this project is 19 seconds at Toll Bridges and Colonnade. So in a big picture, it's not a big delay, given the level of the project and given the amount of traffic it's going to generate. The proposed mitigation measures approved by staff, including basically a left turn signal along the driveway B, which is close to the MPM. So we're using a protected left turn here. It's going to be a partial signal. And the good thing is the eastbound traffic's not going to be impacted. There'll be no signal for them. They can keep going. And the way it's designed, this protected left turn signal would be coordinated with the signal on Toll Bridges and Colonnade, which will allow, full flow through and avoid queuing on the westbound traffic. So that's one, and we modified the striping along Colonnade to accommodate the increase in trips and pedestrian traffic at this intersection. One of the other challenges is what we have eastbound, the pedestrian crossing currently east of Colonnade. It's going to generate a lot of pedestrian school kids going to the gas station and also to the Starbucks. So with those challenges, we came up with restriping off the lanes, where we added a second left northbound heading west, and then also northbound Colonnade, a second left come through heading west. So with those changes and also some traffic calming measures on site by having a raised crosswalks, staff feels confident that the proposed traffic mitigations that were approved sufficiently address our concerns. So with that, I conclude my presentation. Open to any questions.
I have a question. When you mentioned.
Hold on
oh,
one
sorry,
second. Were there more slides, Efren, or?
Yeah, there's a few more slides.
Okay, you
But,
can go ahead and ask that question if you want to right now.
Okay, but
Councilman Pearl.
when you mentioned 19 seconds, would you elaborate on that a little bit? Is that the average time based on a continuum, or is that the maximum time or the minimum time?
So yeah, if we can have the slideshow on display. Okay.
I didn't want to get too technical on the presentation, so I avoided showing those slides. But so the slide on the screen here, you know, if you look at it, the 12 Bridges Drive Colonnade, number 2 intersection, without the project, it's got a delay of 49 seconds at that intersection. So cars coming in, the 49-second delay, they move on. So that 49 now with the project and with all the mitigations in place is modeled to be 68 seconds, a little over a minute, 8 seconds. So that's a 19-second delay that's going to happen at that intersection. That's the maximum. And the second one is the Colonnade Drive Galewind intersection up north. So that's just a couple of seconds. So even those 2 seconds actually push the level of service, you know, and so at 12 Bridges and Fieldstone Drive, there's a delay of 5 seconds from 31 to 36. That's number 3 on the list. That 5 seconds push the level of service from C to D. But essentially, the maximum delay that we have that's going to happen would be at Colonnade and 12 Bridges Drive.
Okay, so it's the delay above a standard already.
Yes, so it's already operating at less than allowable in our general plan. We have, you know, requirements that LOSC be maintained at all of our intersections in our general plan policy. It's just a policy that, you know, we should intend to maintain, though. It's not a standard or a requirement.
Okay.
So we're still E. With the project, we're going to still be E with the addition of 19 seconds of delay at that intersection.
And you're probably not going to find, SP, correct me, but you're not going to find a LOS level of service at C or greater in any area that has a major commercial project ever, anywhere. At schools. Sorry, Vin, go ahead.
Yeah, just to add to what's already been presented. You know, when I was first brought in to you know, take a look at this project last year, we identified a lot of concerns. You know, mainly the year before, we were concerned about the queuing outside of John Adams Academy and knowing that the high school was there to the south. Knowing the scale of this retail project, 12 Bridges Retail, we actually required the developers, engineers to go through several iterations, especially with this traffic analysis and operations plan. What SP just pointed out, this additional 19-second of delay for eastbound movements, left turns going southbound on Colonnade onto 12 Bridges is probably the worst impact being added by this project, considering the scale of, you know, additional traffic being generated and the potential, you know, for more desirable retail. You know, all things considered, I feel very confident in what the applicant has done to this point. You know, with the lane reassignments and the signal operational improvements to better accommodate pedestrians. Yeah, it's operationally for many of the movements with the project, it actually traffic, you may see the traffic functioning better, especially for the high school going northbound out of there. So, you know, I think in this case, our staff and the applicant did a very nice job on the technical side.
And I'm not debating that, and I think it's a great project. You know, it's going to be very helpful to the city. But when I heard 19 seconds delay, I was thinking, okay, 19 seconds. That's not bad to just sit in 19 seconds, but it's 19 seconds on top of the standard already. So that's just,
Yes, it's
so
an
it's just,
additional-
it's the level of expectation that I think we just want to make sure that everyone's clear on.
Yeah, go ahead.
2 quick things. The first is, what is the LOS grade? A through Z? Like Like, what's that scale actually?
So it's A, B, C, D, E, and F.
So F
So
is,
those are the
F
six
F is
grade.
like I'm sitting in a
F is the
parking lot all day
worst.
long?
It's basically gridlock.
Okay.
You're not moving, you're sitting.
Okay. And then my second question for you is the times and the delays. Is that what we should expect all the time or just during these really tight periods?
This is the peak hour, so based on the analysis that we did actually traffic counts, 3 to 4 PM weekdays is the peak hour. So we're talking, this delay is the maximum and it's only between those 2 hours, 3 to 4, when a lot of students are being picked off. So that's the highest
Basically an hour a day during school
hour
year.
a day during the school year and, you know, the worst level here is E at the intersection of Colonnade and for Colonnade and Gilwin. We're not talking about F.
Okay.
So,
Thanks for the clarification.
I had a quick question. So the light at intersection B is the add-on after the planning commission. And is that just like one of those little skinny lights that's kind of in the middle of the island? Or I'm trying to conceptualize what that add-on looks like.
At this point, keeping in mind what's applicants asking for approval of a tentative parcel map. They have yet to prepare the actual engineering improvement plans, but it will be a signal. So it will not be just a minor light. At the beginning of the project, they did not propose a signal for that left turn ingress into the shopping center. After we require the additional iterations is when they finally came back with a signalized left turn. And that's something that, you know, staff stood by in order to get that. And personally, I think that makes it a lot safer. So it was not something the applicant volunteered right up front, but it was something that, you know, city required.
Yeah, but then I think what she's asking is the signal masthead going to be essentially similar to what you'd see at a four-way intersection? Or is it going to be, since it's really just one left-hand turn in, instead of a,
It'll be 1B pole.
yeah,
light. It's gonna be 1B, it's a smaller pole, it's
Right.
like 14, 15 feet. It's not the big mast arm, no. It'll be in the median, you're right. So it's gonna be probably somewhere in the median where, you know, drivers coming in.
Supplemental, yeah.
You know, in the turn pocket. When you're in the turn pocket trying to go into the driveway, you're gonna have that in front of you. It basically tells you, go, you know, green, red. So it's just one
Okay,
pole in
that's
the
what I
middle.
was picturing. And then I was just wondering, and I forgot to ask this earlier when we were talking about it. When you're heading on 12 Bridges west, is there, it kind of reminds me of like Galleria Boulevard and that shopping center that is south on your right when you're going towards 65. There's enough time to get all the way over and head north on 65 with the incoming traffic that's coming out of the shopping center. Yeah.
Not sure.
So,
I I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
No, well, anyway, when you're heading from 12 Bridges High School, you're making a left, going west on 12 Bridges, and you need to go north on 65. Is there going to be enough time with the incoming traffic to get all the way over to the right?
Oh,
I see.
there's 2 left turn lanes out of there too now. That's one of the changes too.
Going left and then
Right.
getting all the way over to the right.
it will only be 3 lanes heading westbound, so you'll need to merge 1 lane to your right. And then, and you probably have, what do you think, SP? Is that 1,000 feet from,
More than 1,000 feet.
Couple thousand, maybe?
From the intersection of Colonnade to the off-ramp, on-ramp.
So
Yeah.
totally
So, yeah,
substantial
there
amount.
should be no weaving issues. We've not identified anything significant, no. And plus, you know, as we are restriping the northbound, you know, the Colonnade getting out of the high school,
Uh-huh.
we're adding 2 lefts, so it's gonna be dual
Oh,
left. That
gotcha.
will help
Left out.
alleviate some of the concerns of traffic.
Okay. Thank you. These add-ons, and I appreciate you doing the extra work to advocate for for that extra light. I think that's going to make a big difference. And I feel a lot more comfortable after we've had a couple discussions about this internally and seeing the presentation now. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Quick follow-up on the light. So when I was watching Planning Commission, the way that it was explained, and I want to make sure my understanding was right, is that normally that's just going to be turn left safely, but if the queue to turn left and to be stacks up too far, it's going to stop westbound traffic so they can get across, right? Or is it always going to be running like a normal light?
It's going to be always.
Okay, so it's not based on the queue turning left?
No.
Okay.
Right. Do you have more to go through?
Just a few more slides.
Yep, go right ahead.
I mean, it's basically, we went over this stuff and then these are the recommendations as part of the traffic study, which we kind of already discussed. And then the findings for the project, the project is consistent with the general plan, the 12 Bridges specific plan, general development plan, Title 17 subdivisions, zoning, and it qualifies for a CEQA exemption. Because the project site was previously analyzed for the commercial development as part of the 12 Bridges general plan, 12 Bridges specific plan EIR. And then that leads us to our recommendation. But before we go talk about that, there was a memo sent out to council members about a change to condition number 9 of the resolution. So if you can please also include that as part of your motion. There was in the process of drafting the conditions of approval, one of the edits was missed or overlooked and wasn't included, and so I want to include that now while we have the opportunity. So yeah, and then that concludes my presentation. If you please let me know if you have any additional questions that either myself or the applicant team can answer. David Berry with Eubora Planning and Engineering is here in the audience, and he can answer any questions that you have for the applicant.
Great, thank you. Okay. I'm doing that right now.
Oh,
Yeah, yep. Any other questions before I open public hearing? No? Okay, open public hearing. Is there any testimony on this item? Anybody online? Oh, please.
Good evening. My name is David Berry. I am with Eubora Engineering and Planning. I like how Efren will call it planning and engineering because that's how planners. So I'm a civil engineer. And as Efren provided the history of the 12 Bridges project before you, I had to be a little embarrassed. I was actually at the city council in 1994.
Wow.
You guys approved the EIR. So I have the pleasure of representing the Pappas investment team this evening. It's been a pleasure working with your staff. I wanted to just get up here and thank the staff for working through the nuances of this project. It had a lot of complexities that the team worked very well together on. I also wanted to pass along that the Pappas investment team is excited to expand their existing relationship with the city. I don't know if you know, their business plan is they own and operate these centers. So they're able to stay in connection with the community, which leads to more successful projects for them. Some good questions that came up about traffic. I'm just gonna, without diving back into all the detail, just put a couple of points on things that maybe could add to some of the questions that were put out there. The primary focus of the challenge on this project was on traffic is when the 2 schools let out. So it's actually like a half an hour or 45-minute window that the city is experiencing today. And with the cooperation of all the traffic experts, they've actually come up with some mitigations that they think will actually help improve the exiting of those 2 schools. You'll still have traffic, you will, and there'll still be challenges there. But we think we've come up with mitigation measures that will help facilitate that peak period a little bit better, as well as make the entries and the exits out of this project safer. So I just wanted to be available to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Now, what was the reasoning, in addition to the question that John Reedy had asked about that left-hand light being on a schedule instead of just on cue? Why'd you decide to do it that way?
It becomes a safety issue that there'll be green lights. We can't have lights that are turned off. So if the driving public is used to seeing red and green, they can't look up and see nothing. So we need to have that. Now, it can be triggered to where it's only, his question, the light can be triggered to become green when people are in the queue. but it still has to be functioning green and red at all times. Yes,
Yeah, that was,
that would be the triggering mechanism for it, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it's probably also accurate to say that like we can make programming changes later depending on what we're seeing. So if like we're seeing just huge queues and we know they're during certain periods of time, i.e. kids getting off of school, then maybe we have a whole company that comes and programs our signals when we have issues, so.
I would just hate to have it turn red for, westbound traffic when nobody's going to be turning left. That would be my, that was the only thing I was thinking.
Yeah,
was gonna
that
happen.
shouldn't happen. You guys would be able to control that, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions or testimony? Anybody online? Okay. Close public hearing. Council have any more comments or questions or concerns? Yep, go ahead.
So I'm really excited about the project to see who's going to come. I think there's a lot of speculation about who you're bringing, so we're going to be excited to see that unfold. There were a few issues that were brought up in planning, in the planning commission that I just wanted to daylight and hope that staff can address as the project moves forward. The first was some kind of northbound pedestrian traffic. I think that we're talking about a trail on the outside, on the open space, something along those lines. Give pedestrians a way to move north if they need to without having to cut through the parking lot. The second was some screening of any mechanical or trucks parked there so you don't see them from 65. And then I think there's some reconfiguring of the village entrance with the obelisk and the things that needs to be navigated with that new left turn lane. So I'm hoping we can accommodate those things as the project moves through. Staff can do that. Otherwise, I'm super excited and looking forward to it. And if you'd like to spill any secrets, we would love to know.
Yeah. Good. Anybody else? Okay. Yep, we're very excited about this. It's going to be a great shopping center, and I'm excited about the possibility of what stores are coming in. It's going to be good for the city and good for 12 Bridges. And so if there's no other comments or questions, then I'll take a motion.
You want the two resolutions? Or
We can just do
all
them
in
together,
one?
right? Do all together.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll move to adopt the two resolutions with the memorandum textual change in condition 9.
I second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Okay, Councilmember Brady?
Yes.
Councilmember Eklund?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Pearl?
Yes.
Mayor Andriata?
Yes. Hey, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate that. All right, general business 13A, receive and file a report on the status of water, wastewater, and sewer funds. Nita.
Thank you. So just a brief little step back in time. We updated our rates a couple years ago, and as part of that update process, we committed to council to come back to council at least once a year to provide a update on the fund balances of the water, wastewater, and garbage funds, and also to ask council to reaffirm the scheduled rate increases. So when we updated the rates, there was a plan which included 5 years of rate increases. The first year of the rate increases was the most difficult and also the highest, with those rate increases being 84% for water, 4% for sewer, and 13% for garbage. But since that first year, we have now normalized increases of 3% in water, 4% in sewer, and 13% in garbage. And so we are asking council to affirm those increases that would go into effect in July of this year. We did provide kind of a mock-up of what the rate increase would look like for an average usage. So we're looking at about a $10 a month increase, depending on, of course, your usage of rates. And we also did provide the information on the fund balances for each of the water, wastewater, and solid waste funds. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions or take direction from council. Your options are keep the rates as programmed, direct council or direct staff to implement a rate that is less than the scheduled rates, or to not implement any rate increases.
Okay, thank you, Nita. Questions, comments?
I'll start off.
Yeah.
First, I would like to commend the previous city councils and staff, both current and past, who worked on making the increases. I watched it unfold. We watched the community become very not aggressive, but certainly display their unhappiness. It was a problem that should have been addressed in the past, and it wasn't. The can was kicked down the road, and the can hit the wall, about 2 years ago. And so I think the council bit the bullet. We did what was right, because the reality was that the funds would have gone bankrupt, and you can't have that happen, obviously, in vital city services. So it had to be done. With that being said, now we're on what I'm looking at, on a good path going forward with modest increases, still recognizing that the funds as public funds cannot make a profit. They can cover their costs, and they have operational reserves, and they have to deliver the service. So this is the vital city services, outside of public safety, the delivery of water, sewer, and refuse are the primary service levels that are given to the community. So I think we're in a pretty good place at this point, looking forward to having modest increases as inflation goes on. Everyone understands that, and we just move forward. So as I said, I just want to commend the prior staffs and city councils for stepping up and taking the hits and doing the hard work.
For that. Any other questions or comments?
One quick.
Yeah. go
One,
ahead.
I'll follow on and also thank you and your previous colleagues for doing this heavy lift for the community. It needed it. My question for staff is, and those in the public who see the numbers, when you look at sort of the ongoing rates in water and sewer, 3-4%, garbage is 13%. Is there some context to why it's multiple times larger in annual ongoing increases than the other two? I mean, I know this for garbage.
Oh, for garbage?
Yeah.
So that fund was actually the healthiest of the three, so it was going to last the longest before it went bankrupt. And we had the choice of either doing a large increase in the very first year or spreading those increases out over the 5 years. And we felt that fund was the least sick and could sustain spreading out the increases. And also with the large increase in the water rates, having a large increase in solid waste was it was going to be untenable. And so we made the decision at the staff level and requested the council concur with that decision to make those increases kind of higher throughout the 5-year term. But we will be looking at that, as we will with all of these funds, when we do the next rate study to determine the appropriate cost. And we will be mindful of people's pocketbooks. We know that these rates have an impact on our community and on ourselves. Every council member lives in this city. I think it bears saying that, because some people are like, well, you don't live here. Yes, we do. And that a majority of our staff also live within the city. So we know that we are us, that we are putting this rate increase on. And so we are mindful of that.
So when you take all 5 years into consideration, basically garbage is kind of spread out evenly over the 5 versus
Correct.
the other took a really big hit early and then level back off. But over the term, they're all essentially in a similar
They're all
range.
pretty close, and the water was the biggest increase because it had the largest problem. It was in the worst shape financially. There was some significant corrections that needed to occur. So it had the largest of the three. But if you look at water and sewer and garbage over the long term, the increases are about square.
I think the other kind of commitment, just to add on to that, was that we've talked a lot about during the rate process and in dozens of public meetings and conversations, was that the correction was needed, and and you'll see actually when Nita gets to her budget presentation on the next item, it has cured the problem in those three funds. One of the things we committed moving forward thereafter is to get the utilities all to this position where people can expect, like Councilmember Pearl said, a very minor change on a yearly basis. So this shock kind of rate process that unfortunately we had to go through just never occurs again. Because ostensibly, if you're running your utilities correctly outside of some major disaster, you should never have to do that if you're keeping up with inflationary factors.
was thinking one other point, because we look at the chart, and as an example, water goes from $20.5 million at the end of 2025 to 25.6 in 27, and comparable increases in sewer. That's a lot of money that the fund balances are going to be increasing. And so I talked with the assistant city manager / finance director / community development director. And
We don't need to
Matt
give all my
Medill.
titles
I
every
said,
time.
are there projects behind this to make sure that that we are building up the fund right now so that we have the monies to do it? And Matt reminded me that we have, 300 miles of streets in the city, and beneath each one of those is sewer and water lines, and each one's cost $1 million. Do the math. And so while the community may see some buildup in the individual funds, we want to be transparent in that there are absolute projects that are in the works that will be done that are going to have to be paid for, or else we're going to find ourselves in the position going forward where we're going to be again behind the 8 ball. So, as I said, we did some deep dives into this. I personally am comfortable with the numbers, and I think we're in so much better place now than we ever have been.
And Matt did remind me that we are in the process of spooling up a study for both water and wastewater to determine that priority, right? Because right now we're going on the fail factor, right? The pipes that we think that are going to fail are the ones that we are replacing next. And that's one way to do it. But we also want to plan ahead, that our goal is to get to a point where we aren't just running from failed pipe to failed pipe, but that we are replacing the pipe that as it ages out, so that we're not in a spot of, I'm going to point to the sinkhole. I'm going to point to that sinkhole for the rest of my career. We're not in the spot of creating a sinkhole and having to do an emergency repair for a sewer pipe out of schedule.
I would like to add, the fact that there's a reserve is a good thing. And between the years of 2000 and 2010, the city of Lincoln had constructed approximately 150 miles of pipeline that will last about 50 years. So in 2050, between 2050 and 2060, we may need to replace up to 150 miles of water line, 150 miles of wastewater line. So we are in the midst of performing right now. We're actively working on the water master plan and the sewer master plan. And that's going to help inform, our next rate study. But we definitely have a whole lot of infrastructure to maintain. So there will be growing reserves, or we'll have to make a decision to plan a future bond or something like that. But right now we're on a good path. We got a good 10-year runway, but there will be major expenditures needed in the future.
Yeah, I was going to say that this is the second of 2 items today that we've talked about that just take a lot to accomplish, right? And I say that because it's not easy for a community to try to dig out of different things like this. And we talked a little bit about the lighting and landscape district issue earlier today, and we're still dealing with this, and it's one of those, how else do you put it? It's not an easy or fun thing to tackle or ask the community to continue to try to fix things. But one thing at a time, if we just continue to put the best foot forward to fix them, maybe one of these days we'll be able to do 3 miles of pipe a year instead of just 1 mile of pipe a year. But we'll look forward to that. We'll just do as much as we can as we go now, and maybe we have to sell a couple chairs to fund it.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I had the same conversations, and just piling on to summarize for everybody that we have to have a lot of money to pay for the infrastructure, which is really, really expensive. And it kind of reminds me of saving up for your kid's college account or college fund. It's 25 years out. That's a It's millions and millions of dollars. We start now, we'll be in a much better place unless we just keep kicking the can. So thank you again to the past council for fixing this and getting us back on track, and staff, and off we go.
Thanks. Nita, real quick, remind me, so with the initial one and then last, so are we in the third year?
Year
Or
3.
That's what I thought. Okay. And so this schedule, is it a 5-year?
Correct.
Okay. So if we stay the course, like we talked about the other day, we can not do any increase now, we can do less, or we can just stay the course and get these funds built up. Once we get to that 5-year mark, will we be in a place where we can take a couple years off without having to do another increase, or is it?
I can't commit to that at this point, but what we will do is at year 4, we will issue an RFP to engage a consultant to do a new rate study. And Matt's going to ask for a lot of money in every project under the sun that needs to be completed. And then I'm going to say, no, we have to keep a rate that is sustainable for people.
Yep.
And so as we continue through that process, Matt and Sean can attest that there are a lot of conversations that happen with the consultant, with staff, with executive management, to try to come up with a rate that keeps the funds in the black, but also is mindful of the impact to the community.
Just to add one little part to that. So to more directly answer your question, could council do that? Absolutely, you could. Absolutely. If you decided after the 5-year period, it's been a long 5-year rate cycle, we want to provide a little relief for a year or two before we start CPI increases again, or whatever is designed. I've had councils do that many times over the years. Question you'll have to ask yourself when that day comes is, what does it cost you? So the funny part about providing relief on rates is it really costs the ratepayer something, just not today, later. And, if it's short enough period of time and a minimal enough amount, then it really is marginal. It doesn't really matter. As we talked about last time, the reason we were in this situation in the first place was basically a 15-year period where rates had not been adjusted. That's it. That simple.
Okay.
And I really don't want to do that again in my career where I
Oh,
have to
never.
bring
No,
forward
that was
a large
awful.
rate increase.
Yeah. Okay, while we still have a few people in the audience, is there any public comment on this item? Anybody online? No? Okay, close public comment. And unless there's other questions or suggestions or different direction, then I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, is there no action? This is just.
Yes, it's
this is
clarification
just
we're
a
looking for.
Informational item.
Just information.
Yeah,
just
and if you'd
direction.
given us
Same file,
direction
right,
to not
right.
move forward with something less than,
Oh,
then
okay.
now's the time to
So
say
we're
so.
just- No, we're just agreeing to where, what the report is, right? So
Stay
we don't
with-
really need to vote on that.
Stay with the
The
program.
program, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so never mind, you can withdraw your motion. All right, thank you. All right, thank you, Nita, for that. And 13B, receive a presentation of proposed fiscal year 2025-2027 budget in the general fund.
Okay, so I have to stand up for this one because I have a little PowerPoint here. And hopefully, there we go. Great. Okay, so this is the second budget workshop, a second of 3. So next meeting, we will be bringing forward the full budget. But and last meeting, we talked about positions and projects. And this meeting, we're going to give you a brief overview of the general fund, the enterprise funds, although we've talked about them a bit already, and some of our other interesting funds. Okay, so quickly, bad news first. We are in a structural deficit in the general fund. So when Sean and I first started, the general fund had a large fund balance in it. And we looked at each other and said, well, why? And during the recession, Lincoln had really tightened its belt, so reduced staff, cut services, stopped doing projects. But then when the economy began to improve, the city was slow to ramp those things back up. And so as a result, the fund balance in the general fund started to grow. So when Sean and I came into the city, One of our primary goals was to, again, put the city back on track with ensuring that we have adequate staff to provide essential services, to make sure that we're doing the projects that are required, and that we purposely drew down the general fund balance. And we have achieved that with this budget. But additionally, the other thing that we have come across is that we don't have a structural deficit just because of projects. We have a structural deficit that includes operating expenses. So this does include one-time expenses, projects that won't be reoccurring, but it also includes expenses that are ongoing and reoccurring that will continue to affect the general fund. And part of that goes back to the LAD conversation that we had earlier, where over this 2-year period, we're going to be transferring $2 million to the LADs. The structural deficit is 3.6, and 2 million of that is going to the LADs. And the other thing is that the temporary funds that we are receiving in a property tax, additional property tax from Placer County, just a quick reminder, is going to be gone in 2028, that those funds will no longer be available to us. So just kind of highlighting here, the majority of our revenues are from property tax with over 52%. I'm sorry, 57%. Might be able to see better without these. There we go. 57%, and sales tax is 21%. Any economist will tell you diversification is key in your portfolio. Well, this city has one primary revenue source, and that's property taxes. And that is great when times are bad, because property taxes don't fluctuate as much as sales tax do. They're a steady revenue thanks to Prop 8. We can always count on a certain percentage of increase in property taxes, relatively speaking. The downside is that that is a slow-growing revenue source, even with this city growing as much as it does, with all the construction that we have, that it is a slow growing compared to what could be achieved with diversified revenues. So we asked our community members, what is important to them? What are the priorities for them as we're going through this budget process? And they said, yeah, 94% of them maintain 911 response. I know this isn't a surprise to any of you. They also said 92% that we prioritize fire, and that they want to attract and retain public safety officers and also fire staffing. So these are the big tickets for the community. So why that's important is when you look at the expenses in the general fund, over 73% of our expenses are related to police and fire. That's just the reality of any government agency. That's always your biggest expense in the general fund is police and fire. So when you go back to that structural deficit, it's challenging to cure that structural deficit without doing one of two things. One is make more money trees, plant them in the garden. Two is cut services, and that would include, it would be challenging to cure it without a cut to some sort of safety type personnel. So this is our general fund. As you can see, it was 17 million at the estimated to be 17.5 million at the end of the current fiscal year, with a fund balance of 11.9 million projected at the end of the biennium budget period in June of 2027. And I think the things that are kind of important to note is that we have maintained the reserves that the council has directed us to. Our current policy says that our reserves can be between 16 and 2/3% and 25%. The last direction we received from council was to keep it at 25%. And so that is what is reflected in the budget at the moment. Council can revise that direction. They can give us new direction. They can even change the policy and direct us to revise the policy and go a different route. But at the moment, it continues to be 25%. And just a note there that I mentioned the one-time expenses. So there's 1.5 million of one-time expenses. And we also had to transfer 1.3 million to reserves to maintain that reserve level. And the 3.6 is for ongoing expenses. And we just wanted to provide a brief overview of our PFE funds. So these are funds that are collected through the permit process. They're collected as a result of expansion and development. They can only be used for expansion and development type expenses. So could I use the administrative funds to replace the table leg on this table? I can't. But I could use the funds to do a complete rehab and remodel at the Chamber Council to move it downstairs or make it more accessible, acknowledging the additional people within the city. So one more time on our utility funds, you can see where we were back in 2021 and 23, where our revenues were below the expenses, and we were headed on a trajectory of increasing expenses and no increase in revenues. If we had stayed where we were, this one purple dot that's down low in 2023 would continue all the way across, and we would be in trouble. But we've managed to right that ship. And same thing with wastewater, where expenses and revenues are meeting each other. That's a very skinny and tight fund, but it is currently sustainable. And then the last is solid waste. Again, the revenues and expenses are right on top of each other, so you can't really make it any tighter than that. And then we have the airport fund. Well, we are continuing to work with the airport committee and staff diligently to develop things such as a common area maintenance charge, to bring additional businesses into the airport, such as hangar projects, and develop the 84 acres adjacent to bring in more revenues for that fund. So just quickly, just a reminder that, we are cognizant again of what our community wants, which is to ensure that we continue to be one of the safest cities in the state of California. We do that with public safety. Public safety is our most expensive portion of our general fund, and our general fund is currently in a structural deficit. So as we're continuing to move forward through this budget process, we will be relying and coordinating with our chiefs to help us communicate the services that they provide, and also to connect with our community to determine their needs and desires. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Nita. Any questions?
Just a couple. Might compare. We're on a 2-year fiscal budget, so I want to make sure which numbers are 2 years and which numbers are 1 year. So the $3.6 million structural deficit, is that over the 2 years or 1 year?
That's over the 2 years.
That's 2 years. Okay. The LAD deficit is 1 million per year, 2 million, right? Okay.
Yes.
And how much is the tax sharing agreement contributing per year? Or could potentially contribute?
It's about 1.2, 1.5.
Okay, so between 2.4 and 3.
But those funds are not in the general fund. They have to be in a separate fund.
Right. But that funding source for public safety is going away in 28.
Correct.
It's 6 when we have this other, because they offset expenditures you would otherwise be in the general fund.
Yes.
Right.
So your thought is correct.
Yeah. We're going to have to pay for that in 28 somewhere. Right.
Yes.
Okay. And then, because you were kind of aligning the LADs to the deficit, but like all that stuff kind of goes in. Is the 3.6, that's just for this next 2 years. So you have that 3.6, which was what we're doing now, plus 2.4 to 3 coming in 28.
Correct.
Okay, well, let me just say, I love this time of the year because we're talking budgets and finance, so this is fun. Okay.
Right up your alley.
Okay.
So one thing, I talked with Nita about this, is that we've moved to a 2-year budget, and that's absolutely great. But there's also a starting point that Nita did I think starting 2 years ago, in developing a 3-year outlook, so that's on top of the 2 years. And this is, to me, absolutely critical, because we're less prone to make a mistake in funding by not recognizing an action today that's going to hit us in year 3, 4, or 5. And Nita was saying that, and I hope this can happen at the next council meeting when we adopt the budget, that they will have a rough 3-year budget on top of the 2-year adoption. Because as I said, the worst thing that could happen would be if we made a commitment today in whatever expenditure realm, and it comes back, we don't recognize what's going to happen, a couple of years from now. And that's a tool that can help us address that situation. So I think that's super. The other thing, one of the charts that you had, Nita, was talking about the general fund and how much we rely on property tax versus sales tax. And I went and I looked at Rockland, Roseville, and Folsom, and us. We're at 58%. Rockland is at 52%. Roseville is at 32%, and Folsom is at 41%. And when it comes to sales tax, we're at 21%. Roseville is at 41%, Rockland's 41%, and Folsom, 25%. So, it just shows we've got there's some positives here, but it just doesn't give us, it protects us from the downside, but it doesn't give us the opportunity on the upside to do the things that our people are looking for. So it's that balance that's critical. The other thing, I'll just toss this out as my personal observation. We have a 25% reserve funding at this point, anywhere from 15% to 25%. And we took a 25%. So we're at the high side of that. If we recognize that there are things that we have to expend monies on now, if we reduce that to, let's say, 20%, given where we are with our property tax support, it's not like we're taking a giant risk here. It's not like we're going down to 10% or 15%. So we still have a cushion, but we shouldn't agonize over, some structural imbalance at this point, because I think we do have the flexibility to do it. Personally, I think we have the flexibility to do it. And also just by the fact of how our financing is structured, that I think we're going to be okay to do it. We don't want to rely on that, going forward, and having a healthy reserve is fabulous. But I don't think we should allow ourselves to be distracted by doing the things we have to do for the public in delivering services and capital infrastructure, because we want to attain an arbitrary 25% number. If something is lower, and that's what we decide to do, financially, it may be acceptable.
Yep. Thanks. Anybody else?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm sure all of us had conversations at length with Sean and Nita about this, and we discussed at length the difference in different cities and growth patterns, and completely agreeing with your perspective, Councilmember Pearl. In addition to that, there's also the component of us being in a high growth projected future. So that's also something that we're considering as well, being a little bit more comfortable with the situation today.
Yeah, we're kind of like right in the median where you don't need to be super nervous because there is growth on the horizon, but it doesn't mean it's not going to be a lift to get to where we need to be. It just means that, we have a good potential to recover pretty, no, I wouldn't say quickly, but in a reasonable way. Whereas if we were a Rockland, where the growth is pretty much done at that point, and then you look at, oh shoot, we got to cut, or something like that. Not ideal. And again, we knew that not only this, but there's just a couple others that we still need to have a heavy lift as a community to get out of, but I'm not super nervous about it.
Okay, thanks. Did you have another?
My only feedback, if staff's looking for any kind of thoughts on direction regarding this, is one, I agree with want to call him Treasurer Pearl, former Treasurer Pearl, current Councilmember Pearl, is yeah, I also am not feeling, I'm fine with dealing with the changing the reserve. I think to me that's more of like we get into a pinch, it's a release valve. It's not a reoccurring release valve, so it's kind of like use it when you need it most. For this budget year, the extent to which we can defer or be really tight about adding new reoccurring expenses into the budget is where I'd be paying the most attention to it until some of this growth can kind of catch up to do this sort of thing. I don't want to get it to the extent to which I'm providing direction is, I know you're already saying no to a lot of things that the city could use and benefit from, the extent to which you can say no to even more or delay some of those things to give us more breathing room over the next 2 years. I would be in favor of that, even though I know it comes with a cost.
I've always been in favor of looking at that reserve number. When that was set at 25% several years ago, even then I was like, and you guys weren't here then, but I was like, that doesn't need to be that high, but I was outvoted, which is fine, because I think it's good we can reevaluate. But I also just want to, caution us and remind us that although we will experience growth, with growth comes the added need for more police and fire. So it's not necessarily like, more rooftops gets more money. No, that means there's more services needed. And that's why I've always been the advocate of like, let's just do this very thoughtfully. And, again, we don't want to be Roseville. We don't want to be Rockland. So that was my thought. But are there any public comment on this item?
I do have someone through Zoom.
Okay.
There's no one.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Lena, you have been unmuted. Please provide your comments.
Good evening, Mayor Holly and council. I have a question about the slide used by department, particularly the city attorney's office. Years 23 and 24, it was 1% of budget. This year, it's jumped to 3%. And for the coming 2 years, it's planned at 2%. I'm just curious why the great jump. Thank you.
Nita, I think I know that one. Do you know it off the top of your head?
Well, that's because we added an assistant, a city attorney and
Yeah.
code enforcement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so Lena, it's all staffing related. So I think back in 22, 23, when I first got here, Christine was a party of one. And now she's a party of three.
Party of four.
But budgeted for four. So code enforcement falls under the city attorney's office. And then about a year or so ago, the city council directed the city attorney to hire a deputy so that there was some succession planning and some support to her office, which, we ground our teeth, but I guess it's pretty reasonable at the end of the day.
It's also related to the outside attorneys that we have to hire to handle the different and varied legal aspects of this organization.
But that happens all the time. It's not unusual.
Right.
But
Thank
I
you.
didn't realize there was going to be an assistant attorney.
Yeah, we approved that over a year ago, and she's been with us, since February. Yeah, and she's been a very good help to Christine because there's a lot of work to do, so.
I attend every city council meeting. I guess I just forgot.
That's okay, Lena. Thanks for the question. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Was there another one? Nope, that was it?
Okay, so the direction that I heard from council is that the reserve should be lowered to 20%. So we will take care of that for the final budget. And
Are we okay with that?
No?
We want to see
No?
the detail.
Okay.
No, I'm open to it I suspect that it will be needed more in 28 than it will be
Okay.
needed today. So I would hold that card for then, if we need it for then, and if we get past that point, have a resolution to that another way, then structurally lower it, but it's like a one-time thing, you don't get it back.
Yeah, I think that's smart because the two little tidbits I'll just add. In most cities, your reserve is your fund balance. So in other words, in many cities, their general fund, they don't carry a multi-million-dollar fund balance around. You may carry some, because you have one-time projects you're doing, but in many cases, your reserve kind of sits as your, depending on the size of it, your bank account, your savings account, right? For a rainy day. But the thing that Nita didn't show in that slide, because it gets really deep into her world, is you also have to remember that we moved millions of dollars from the general fund into a Section 115 trust about, I don't know, a year ago.
Yeah.
And that trust is designed specifically to pay for pension liabilities that choke general funds over time, as ours would have. And so that actually is also kind of a reserve as well, because it can offset costs that otherwise is swallowed out of your general fund. So we have all types of tools that we can use in a pinch, which, to Councilmember Reed Brown's and Brown's point, we have a lot of advantages too that we're working on. So we like to say internally that we really have much more of a revenue generation issue than we do necessarily an expense issue. They're tied, but that's sort of where we're going to be spending, in earnest the next budget cycle on, is trying to find solutions to that problem.
Let me just add to that also a little bit. The federal government, when they talk about allowable reserves for internal service funds, their goal is 15% for working capital. And so, but we really don't have that much, but to a degree, we have that problem because our property tax revenue comes in two major tranches. But we still have enough cash in there to make everything happen. So, so I think that we're still high, and I support John's, thought about, let's not just jump in and push it down. Let's be judicious and tactical about it. So we're making a strategic assumption, a strategic plan here, saying push it down as necessary, down to 20%.
I was with you, but that's
Okay, well, I appreciate the clarification. We will keep it at the percent that it is for
Yeah,
this
no
budget
problem.
cycle. And council can reassess that at any time. We come back to council every 6 months with budget updates, budget adjustments. If at some point council's like, yeah, we want to knock it down to this, then we can do that.
Great.
Or
Thank you,
raise it
Nita.
back up.
Or bring it back up.
Appreciate the information. All right, city manager reports. Now that you've closed your iPad, are you getting ready to leave?
Yeah, sorry, admittedly was not prepared for that. I actually only have one thing, which I'm sure at least 2 or 3 of you may mention anyway, but just from my perspective, attended the Captain Sachs Memorial unveiling yesterday that Chief Alves and company put on. Just a really sobering, meaningful event. And I sent a note around to the staff that were involved in that and some of our partners out there at the airport, just how proud I was to be there, honoring somebody that gave, 5 people that gave the ultimate sacrifice. And it was just really neat to me to think about the fact that, for now and we hope forever, people will drive past that into the airport to go on a flight and look over there and wonder what that's about. And they may get out of their car and learn a little bit about somebody that gave it all. So that's all I have to
Yep,
share.
it was wonderful. It was great. And Chief did a wonderful job. It was awesome. Yeah. That was it? Okay. Council initiated business? Anybody have any business?
Wonder if we should put on the agenda to talk about the concern about public comment at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Just more, I think more as an educational topic, so that we can have that discussion, probably more about education, check into policies, more than anything else.
Okay. So the majority of the council.
Yeah, I would
okay.
second that. I mean,
Yes.
I'm not necessarily in public comment, but I think to your point earlier in the meeting, when they're talking about a specific agenda item and there's a little figuring out the procedure for how you allow a little back and
Yep.
forth when they're asking questions. And
Yeah.
I think there's logistical challenges
Okay.
with that, but
So can we put
the
that on for
request
next
makes
time,
sense.
the time after, whenever you have room for it? Well, yeah, I don't need that Brown Act training, but yeah, it's- have to do that all the time. All right, anybody have any committee reports?
Well, I had a great experience last Friday. I'm a member of the Placer County Air Pollution Control District. And we had a field trip up to Colusa, where they have 2 biomass plants up there, one that's ongoing, been there for quite a while. And they specialize they take rice hulls, they grind them up. The piles that they have are absolutely mammoth. And they use that primarily in fertilizer and cement, making cement.
Oh, wow.
It's one of there's only 2 major plants like that in the country. One is here in Colusa, the other is in And right next door to it is another one that's being stood up right now, that's internationally financed. I think it's at $250 million. And they're going to be taking wood and a lot of other biomass materials and just creating water purification extracts and then also hydrogen and a bunch of other stuff. So that plant is still in the works. It's probably another 6 months before they come online. But it's interesting to see what our air pollution control district is doing. We're pretty advanced when it comes to biomass, as opposed to a lot of the other parts of the state. And even within California, and even here, we go everywhere in the valley for agriculture, and we have a lot of biomass up in the Sierra for wood, for the woody. So it's, it's an interesting thing that they're doing over here, trying to be as green as possible and still keep it within financial boundaries. So that was really cool.
Good. That's interesting. Yeah. Else?
So I was at PCA, we approved the annual 2024 report. The other thing out of that is in the next 12 to 24 months, the PCCP plan may need to be open for a revision. So there's an opportunity there for us to have a discussion about what you may or may not want to see happen during that process. Also attended our Parks and Rec, and there's a very interesting project that could fill in that spot in Foskett Ranch that I think the council will be seeing in the coming months.
But the pump track?
I
Yeah,
think I was talking to Doug today. I think probably not next meeting because we're going to wrap in budget, but in July, we'll be prepared to bring you a license for that.
Have anything?
Mostly just for PCTPA, just talked about budget stuff as well as, the vacancies and staffing and whatnot. Also, they're going to be doing an I-80 ribbon cutting June 19th in the morning. Caltrans event. Kevin Kiley will probably be there, a couple speakers, but not, other than that, that's pretty straightforward stuff.
Good, thanks. You have anything?
Not yet.
Okay. I went to I had a GSEC retreat and board meeting, which was really good. It was a lot of great information about, collaboration again with just getting industry in the region, collaborating with the colleges and universities and things happening at UC Davis and Sac State, and just generating revenue through, business and corporations and partnerships, public-private. But in relation to us, I filled out a survey for them a few months back, and I had forgotten all about it. And one of the senior exec under Barry came up to me and he's like, "Hey, you made this comment in your survey about your land at the airport." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." What I said was, because there's some kind of breakdown where we send them all our information multiple times, and they say, "Okay, we're going to help us with site selectors and get something moving on that," and then nothing ever happens. And so then, "Hey, send us all your stuff." Okay, we sent you our stuff, but I think there was some kind of breakdown in that. So I said that's what I was talking about, and he said, "Well, there's a few things that you need to do to get that property evaluated and shovel ready." And so we'll start working on that. And I go, "Okay." He walks away, comes back, he goes, "Okay, update." He said, "I just spoke to so-and-so from McKinsey firm." He said, "They're going to come out pro bono and they're going to evaluate the land with us and they're going to give us a list." So Sean and I have an appointment with them the first part of July to come out, look at the property. What is it that we need to do? A little bit of investment to get it ready. And then GSEC will be more involved in helping us utilize that land, get it sold or get something built on their light industrial, whatever it might be. So I'm very hopeful and excited that, but it's been kind of frustrating, the communication back and forth, but I think we finally got it nailed down. So that was very productive and I was excited about that. So we should see that coming pretty soon. Okay. Information. I know you mentioned the I-80 ribbon cutting, which we got an email about today. Anything else?
Sean mentioned about Captain Sachs. That was good. Matt gave some very good comments, and so did you, Mayor, without a doubt. It was a fabulous day. On Saturday, we did have the downtown Lincoln Car Show. We had close to 500 cars here, about 7,000 people.
I think Tom
Great
said
day.
517. Is that a record?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
517
I think they
cars?
only
Yeah.
had like mid low
400s last
time.
year,
Yes,
yeah, that's crazy. Yep.
Great day for Lincoln.
Yeah, it was a good day, right.
Did not disappoint. I also went to the Beale Air Show on
Thank you for
Sunday.
going,
You're
yes.
welcome. It was my pleasure. I love air shows. It was phenomenal. And got to meet the wing commander of the base, and we talked a little bit about economic development and ideas. And so they're definitely interested in creating some more synergy between us and Placer County and our airport. All good things.
Good, awesome. Hey, anything else? Okay, thank you, staff. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We are adjourned.